One of the most helpful practices that I wish I had learned earlier in my studies was how to capture photos of things just the way I notice them when they first catch my attention. And to do this quickly and efficiently, it kind of surprises me that I had never learned this particular way of framing and composing photos in spite of learning about picture composition. So I call this technique capturing what I see. You capture what you see instead of what you think should be there. It's the same idea that illustrators are taught. Instead of setting up the camera framing based on typical rules like rule of thirds or using the viewfinder, what I do now is carefully observe how my mind has automatically framed the subject before I've done anything with the camera or viewfinder. Here's why I think this is effective and interesting. The way humans place visual attention on things, as well as the area of sharpness and focus, is actually very narrow. Think about it. We have a 180-degree field of view all the time, and yet as soon as our attention is caught on something particular, our mind zooms right in on it, and we completely ignore everything else in our very wide field of view. So it's the way we place attention on things that really affects how we see and perceive. I actually discovered this phenomenon one evening when I went out to take photos of a SkyTrain station after finally investing in a lens for my used DSLR. So what happened was, because I'd done some research on different kinds of lenses, I had learned that 50mm lenses are very versatile and tend to produce natural-looking photos without distortion. So I took my camera out at night with this lens on and stood about 40 meters away from this green, glowing SkyTrain station. And then when I looked at my DSLR's monitor screen, it dawned on me that the station was so small and far away from the perspective of a 50mm lens. In that moment, I realized that my mind was showing me an illusion the whole time, because even from that distant point of view, all I was actually paying attention to was a big close-up image of a pale green, glowing SkyTrain station. So from the very beginning, before I had my camera with me, my mind had framed the subject more like a portrait or close-up. Contrary to this, I used to go to various locations and spend a while just walking and looking around, trying to find the best shots, the best angle, the best framing, the best perspective. And this was always the main struggle, because much of the time I was just experimenting with different angles and zoom lengths and being inefficient. So here's my recommendation if you're new to photography and you're familiar with the basics of picture composition. Give this simple method a try. Whenever something catches your attention and you want to take a photo of it, just closely observe what your mind is actually paying attention to. Remember that humans have a 180-degree field of view, but when we're focused on something, a significant amount of that view goes completely unnoticed by us. This means that our minds naturally frame or crop everything we look at, and since we get so captivated by the things we see at first glance, capture it that way. You will be able to instantly find great shots all the time just by using your eyes and noticing how your mind creates a region of focus around things. This means no viewfinder. You won't need a viewfinder until you've generally decided how you want to frame the picture. Then when it comes to taking the shot, if it's a bit hard for me to decide on the precise framing, I'll just pick a middle zone sweet spot. I'll ask myself what the widest acceptable framing would look like, what the smallest acceptable framing would be, and then take the shot somewhere in between. Here's an example of how humans pay attention to subjects When you notice a good-looking person walking out of a store on the other side of the street, and you're sitting outside at a cafe, chances are your mind has cropped this scene just over their head and under their feet or something similar, and everything else within your field of view, the traffic lights, the other people, the bicycle riding by, the parked cars in the background, the windows on the second and third floor are practically invisible to you. Now, distance is a major contributor to how we pay attention to subjects, so let's take a similar example. What if you're sitting inside Starbucks just 6 feet away from this person, and you look at them as they take their drink and turn around to find a seat? In this case, due to the proximity, it's possible that your mind was only paying attention to the person's head and torso. So even though you could see their feet, the ground, and the ceiling in your peripheral vision, what you were actually paying attention to was something akin to the cowboy shot. Finally, as a reminder to photographers who enjoy both subject and landscape photography, it's essential to know what your priority is. If you happen to come across a great subject and a captivating landscape, which one takes the lead? The subject or the landscape, or do they both exist harmoniously? If your priority is the subject, then you'll want to frame the camera very close to them. Not in terms of distance, but in terms of the camera's field of view. And this could be anywhere from full shot to extreme close-up. If your priority is the landscape, then you'll want to include more of it. Taking photos of what you see saves time and digital space. With this practice, you will be able to decide beforehand the kinds of shots you want to take, and you won't need to take dozens or hundreds of photos at each location or shoot, just so you can sift through them and only pick out a handful of good ones.